What you're about to witness is the moment Marjorie Taylor Greene's carefully constructed comeback narrative completely fell apart. Live on national television, in front of millions of viewers. And it was brutal. I'm talking about January 7th, 2026. Yesterday, when former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene walked back onto the View set thinking she could control the narrative about her dramatic split from Donald Trump. What she got instead was a masterclass in prosecutorial interviewing from Sunny Hostin that left her stammering, defensive, and according to the internet, absolutely destroyed. But before we break down every single moment of this explosive confrontation, and trust me, we're going to analyze every word, every pause, every facial expression, if you want the complete unfiltered truth about what really happened when MTG faced her toughest interview ever, you need to smash that subscribe button right now and hit the notification bell. Because what I'm about to show you goes way deeper than the viral clips you've seen on Twitter. We're talking body language analysis, political implications, and the exact moment you can see MTG realize she's in over her head. This channel is dedicated to breaking down the political moments everyone's talking about with the context and analysis you won't get anywhere else. So if that's your thing, subscribe. You won't regret it. Now, let's set the stage. For those who need a quick refresher, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been one of the most controversial figures in American politics for the past 4 years. The Republican from Georgia's 14th District made her name as Donald Trump's most loyal defender in Congress. And I mean most loyal. While other Republicans occasionally pushed back on Trump, MTG was all in. She promoted QAnon conspiracy theories before backing away from them. She suggested Jewish space lasers caused California wildfires. She compared mask mandates to the Holocaust. She called for the impeachment of Joe Biden on his first full day in office. Love her or hate her, you couldn't ignore her. She was the MAGA movement personified, loud, unapologetic, and absolutely unshakable in her support for Donald Trump. Which is why what happened in December 2025 shocked everyone. MTG called for the release of Jeffrey Epstein's client files. Not just called for it, she demanded it. She said the American people deserved to know the truth about everyone connected to Epstein, regardless of political party. Sounds reasonable, right? Transparency, accountability, all that good stuff. Except there was one problem. Donald Trump's name appears in those files. Not as a client necessarily, but he's mentioned multiple times. He flew on Epstein's plane. He socialized with him. The connection is there. And when MTG started pushing for these files to be released, files that could potentially embarrass or implicate Trump, the MAGA world turned on her instantly. Trump himself called her a traitor on Truth Social. Let me repeat that. The man she defended for 4 years straight, the man she based her entire political identity around supporting, called her a traitor. The MAGA base followed Trump's lead. Death threats poured in. Former allies abandoned her. Her political career, built entirely on Trump loyalty, was crumbling. And then in late December, she resigned from Congress. Just quit. Gave up her seat representing Georgia's 14th District. The official reason? She said she wanted to focus on fighting for truth and transparency outside the constraints of Congress. Translation: she was politically isolated, had no allies left, and was facing a brutal primary challenge from a Trump-endorsed candidate. So that's where we are when January 7th, 2026 rolls around. Marjorie Taylor Greene, former Congresswoman, freshly labeled a traitor by Trump, decides to appear on The View. Again, now this wasn't her first time. She'd been on the show back in November 2025, before the Epstein Files controversy. That appearance was contentious but relatively civil. The hosts pushed back on her, but MTG held her own. She was still in Congress, still had political power, and still had Trump's backing. This time, everything had changed. Let me introduce you to the firing squad, the panel. You've got Whoopi Goldberg as moderator. The veteran. The one who controls the flow and jumps in when things get too heated. Joy Behar on the left. Sharp-tongued comedian who loves to get under conservative skin with pointed jokes that land like punches. Sarah Haynes. The measured one. Often plays the reasonable middle ground. Alyssa Farah Griffin. Former Trump White House communications director turned critic. She knows the game from the inside. Ana Navarro. Republican strategist who despises Trump. Brings the conservative but never Trump perspective. And then there's Sunny Hostin. This is who you need to understand. Sunny isn't just a talk show host. She's a former federal prosecutor. She spent years in courtrooms cross-examining witnesses, finding contradictions, and breaking down defenses. When Sunny asks you a question, she's not making conversation. She's building a case. And on January 7th, her case was simple. Is Marjorie Taylor Greene's sudden transformation from Trump loyalist to truth seeker genuine? Or is this just a desperate woman trying to salvage her political career? So picture this. The cameras are rolling. The audience is packed. You can feel the electricity in the room. These are View fans. They lean liberal. They've spent years watching this show tear apart Trumpism. And now, walking onto that stage, is one of Trumpism's former high priestesses. The applause is polite. Scattered. Nothing like what a friendly guest receives. MTG sits down. She's wearing professional attire, trying to look dignified, reformed. But you can see it in her eyes. She knows this is going to be rough. Whoopi welcomes her, does the basic introductions, and then she passes it to Sunny. And you can literally see MTG's shoulders tense. Because she knows. Everyone watching knows. This is about to get very real very fast. But what Sunny asked first? That's where everything started to unravel for Marjorie Taylor Greene. And that's exactly where we're heading next. Sunny doesn't waste time with pleasantries. Sunny says, Marjorie, let's start with January 6th. You've been on this show before, and you've consistently downplayed what happened at the Capitol. You've called the rioters patriots. You've suggested it was a false flag operation. Now that you're no longer in Congress and no longer under Trump's protection, do you want to revise any of those statements? See that? That slight hesitation? That's not the confident MTG we've seen for 4 years. This is a woman trying to navigate a minefield. MTG responds, Well, Sunny, I appreciate the question. Look, I think we can all agree that what happened on January 6th was a tragedy. Sunny interrupts. That's not what you said at the time. At the time you said these were patriots fighting for their country. You objected to the electoral certification. You supported Trump's claims about the stolen election. So I'm asking you specifically, were you wrong? This is what I'm talking about. Sunny isn't letting her give politician answers. She wants a yes or no. MTG tries again. I think we all had strong feelings after the 2020 election. There were questions about. Sunny cuts in again. Questions that have been answered. 60 court cases. Trump's own attorney general said there was no fraud. His own campaign team told him he lost. Were you wrong to support the big lie? Notice how the other hosts are just watching? They're letting Sunny work. This is strategic. One prosecutor. One witness. No escape routes. MTG's defensive tone is building now. Sunny, I represented my constituents. They had concerns about the election, and I voiced those concerns. That's my job. Sunny pushes forward. Your job was to uphold the Constitution. Your job was to certify an election that was legitimate. Instead, you objected based on conspiracy theories. And now, 3 years later, after supporting Trump through everything, you suddenly break with him over the Epstein files. And there it is. The real question underneath all of this. Sunny's building to something. She's establishing a pattern. MTG has been wrong before, she's defended the indefensible before, so why should anyone believe this Epstein files stance is genuine? MTG tries to pivot. The Epstein files are different. This is about trafficking victims. This is about children. Joy Behar jumps in. Oh, now you care about children? Where was this concern when you were harassing school shooting survivors? The audience reacts with some applause, and Whoopi raises her hand to maintain order. One at a time, ladies. Let her answer. MTG is visibly flustered now. I've apologized for my past behavior. I've said publicly that I was wrong to approach those situations the way I did. I'm trying to do better. Sunny isn't letting up. You apologized after it became politically convenient. You apologized after you were stripped of your committee assignments. You apologized when it affected your power. So forgive me for being skeptical when you suddenly have a conscience about the Epstein files. The room is tense now. You can feel it through the screen. This isn't a conversation anymore. This is an interrogation. And MTG is starting to realize she can't pivot out of this. MTG attempts to explain. Sunny, I understand your skepticism. I do. But I've seen things, I've learned things since being in Congress that have changed my perspective. The Epstein case involves powerful people on both sides of the political aisle. Sunny states flatly, including Trump. MTG continues, including many people. And yes, Trump's name appears in those documents. But so do a lot of other names. Democrats and Republicans. And I think the American people deserve transparency. Sunny leans forward now, the prosecutor move. Let me ask you this directly. Did you know Trump's name was in those files when you were defending him for 4 years? There's silence. MTG opens her mouth, closes it, opens it again. Oh, this is the moment. This is where Sunny has her pinned. If MTG says yes, she knew, then she was defending a man she knew was connected to Epstein. If she says no, she didn't know, then she was defending him blindly without doing her research. Either way, she loses. MTG stammers. I didn't have access to those files when I was in Congress. They're sealed. Sunny presses on. But you knew about his friendship with Epstein. That's been public knowledge for years. Photos of them together. Trump's own quotes about Epstein liking beautiful women on the younger side. You knew all of this. And you still called him the greatest president in history. Ana Navarro jumps in now. Can I just add, this is exactly the problem with MAGA cultism. You defend him no matter what. No matter how many red flags, no matter how many lies, no matter how many connections to criminals. And then when it's politically convenient for you, suddenly you develop standards. MTG's jaw is clenching. I wasn't part of a cult. I believed in his policies. I believed in putting America first. Sunny counters. You believed in putting Trump first. His policies? Muslim ban struck down. Wall didn't get built and Mexico didn't pay for it. Infrastructure week became a punchline. Tax cuts for the wealthy. What exactly were these incredible policies? Alyssa Farah Griffin speaks up with a surprisingly sympathetic tone. Look, I worked for Trump. I understand the appeal. I understand wanting to believe in someone who promises to shake up the system. But Marjorie, there comes a time when you have to ask yourself, am I supporting policies or am I supporting a person? And if it's the person, what does that person have to do before it's too much? This is interesting. Alyssa, who came from Trump's world, is offering MTG a lifeline. A way to frame this as evolution rather than betrayal. Will she take it? MTG seems to appreciate this. Alyssa, I appreciate that. And you're right. I think I got so caught up in the fight, in defending him against what I saw as unfair media attacks, that I stopped asking critical questions. And the Epstein files, that was my line. Protecting children, protecting victims, that has to be more important than protecting any politician. There's some applause from the audience, but it's tentative. It's a good answer. Practiced, probably. Humanizing. But Sunny's not done. Not even close. Because what Sunny brings up next is the thing MTG absolutely did not want to discuss. The thing that makes her entire redemption narrative fall apart. And you can see in MTG's face the moment she realizes where this is going. Sunny is pulling out papers or notes now. Marjorie, I want to read you something. These are your own words from February 2021. You said, and I quote, "The real attack on our country happened at the ballot box when Democrats stole the election. January 6th was a patriotic response to tyranny." MTG's face is going pale. Sunny continues reading. In March 2021, you said, "I'm proud to have stood with President Trump and the American people who know this election was fraudulent." In July 2022, you called the January 6th committee a witch hunt and said the real criminals were the Democrats who staged a coup. Sunny looks up. Should I keep going? Because I have pages of this. This is what separates Sunny from other interviewers. She came with receipts. This isn't opinion. This isn't speculation. These are MTG's own words, on the record undeniable. MTG's voice is tightening. Sunny, I've acknowledged that I said things in the heat of political battle that I... Sunny interrupts sharply. Heat of political battle? This wasn't one comment. This was years. Years of you amplifying Trump's lies, attacking election workers, calling for violence. MTG raises her voice. I never called for violence. Sunny fires back. You posted a video of yourself shooting at a car with socialism written on it. You liked posts calling for the execution of Democratic leaders. Don't sit here and tell me you never promoted violence. The audience is gasping, some are cheering. Whoopi is letting it play out. MTG is standing her ground now, her voice rising. Those posts were liked before I was in Congress. I've explained this. I didn't even run those accounts, my staff. Sunny cuts her off. Your staff was liking posts about executing Nancy Pelosi? Come on, Marjorie. Take some responsibility. Sarah Haynes looks uncomfortable with the intensity, but tries to soften things. Can I ask about the timing? Because Sunny's right that there's a pattern here. But Marjorie, you've broken with Trump now. You've given up your congressional seat. You're facing death threats from your own former supporters. That's not nothing. So help me understand why now. Why the Epstein files? What was it about that specifically that made you finally say enough? MTG takes a breath, seeming to appreciate the softer approach. Sarah, thank you. Look, being in Congress, you see things. You hear things. And the Epstein case, the trafficking network, the powerful men who abused these girls, I have a daughter. I kept thinking about her. What if it was her? What if powerful men were protected while children suffered? I couldn't be part of that protection anymore. I couldn't defend people connected to that, no matter what party they belonged to. Some audience members are nodding. It's a compelling answer. Emotional. Appeals to motherhood. Universal values. But Sunny's not buying it. Sunny is laser-focused now. That's beautiful, Marjorie. Really. But let me ask you something. Where was this maternal instinct when you were harassing David Hogg, a school shooting survivor? Where was it when you denied Sandy Hook happened? Where was it when you called mask mandates during a pandemic child abuse, while actual children were dying from COVID? The tension is suffocating now. Sunny continues, her voice sharp. You don't get to suddenly discover you care about children when it's politically convenient. You don't get to wrap yourself in the flag of moral righteousness when your entire career has been built on conspiracy theories and attacking vulnerable people. MTG's voice is shaking now, whether from anger or tears it's hard to tell. You don't know me, Sunny. You don't know my heart. You don't know what I've been through. Sunny doesn't back down. I know what you've put other people through. I know you made Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez fear for her safety. I know you followed her around the Capitol yelling at her. I know you voted against bills to help 9/11 survivors. I know your record, Marjorie. And your record shows me exactly who you are. The other hosts are silent now, letting this play out. MTG's eyes are glistening. Is she about to cry? MTG tries to recover. People can change, Sunny. People can grow. I'm not the same person I was 4 years ago. Sunny's response is devastating. 4 years ago, you were 46 years old. You weren't a child. You were a grown woman who made calculated decisions to gain power by spreading lies and promoting hate. And now that those decisions have cost you everything, now that Trump has turned on you, now that MAGA has abandoned you, now you want us to believe you've evolved. This is the breaking point. Sunny delivers the knockout question. Here's my question, Marjorie, and I want you to answer honestly. If Trump called you today and said, I forgive you, come back, I need you, would you go? There's absolute silence in the studio. Every host, every audience member, everyone watching at home is waiting. This is it. This is the corner Sunny has backed her into. There's no pivot. There's no deflection. There's only truth or lies. If MTG says yes, she'd go back to Trump. She admits this whole transformation is fake. If she says no, she's burning that bridge permanently on national television. Trump could be president again. That would be political suicide. MTG's face is cycling through emotions. You can see her brain working overtime. After a long pause, MTG finally speaks. I don't think that's a fair question because it's hypothetical. Sunny interrupts immediately. It's a yes or no question. Would you go back to Trump if he asked? MTG tries to deflect. Sunny, my issue isn't with Trump personally. My issue is with anyone who would prioritize their reputation over justice for trafficking victims. Sunny cuts through it. That's not an answer. MTG continues rambling. And I don't think Trump would ask me back because he sees me as a traitor now, so the question is moot. Sunny won't let it go. Would you want him to ask you back? MTG looks trapped. Her voice is quiet now. I want to do what's right. That's all I want now. Sunny leans back with a slight smile. She knows she's won this exchange. That's what I thought. The audience is murmuring. Whoopi jumps in to break the tension. We need to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more from Marjorie Taylor Greene. As they cut to commercial, you can see MTG slumped slightly in her chair. When they come back from the break, the energy has shifted. MTG has had a moment to collect herself. She's sitting up straighter. There's a defiance in her eyes now. But here's the thing about being cornered by someone like Sunny Hostin. The damage is already done. The audience has seen you rattled. They've seen you dodge. They've seen you unable to give a straight answer. And that's what everyone will remember. Whoopi starts again. Welcome back. Marjorie, before the break, things got pretty heated. Do you want to respond to anything Sunny said? MTG takes the opportunity. I do. Look, I understand the skepticism. I understand that my past actions have made people not trust me. But I'm not asking for trust. I'm asking for the Epstein files to be released so the truth can come out, regardless of who it implicates. That's it. That's all I'm focused on now. Joy Behar isn't buying it. But sweetheart, you realize that's not going to happen, right? Trump might be president again. You think he's going to release files that might embarrass him? The same Trump you defended while he obstructed justice, hid documents, refused to comply with subpoenas. MTG responds, "That's why I'm speaking out now. That's why I left Congress. Because I can't be part of a system that protects powerful predators." Alyssa Farah Griffin asks the practical question. What's your next move? You're out of Congress. MAGA won't support you. Democrats certainly aren't going to embrace you. Where do you go from here? MTG has clearly thought about this. I'm going to keep fighting for transparency. I'm writing a book. I'm doing media. I'm going to tell my story about what it's like inside the MAGA movement, the cult-like behavior. Yes, Anna, you were right to call it a cult, and how we can prevent this kind of blind loyalty from destroying our democracy again. The hosts are exchanging glances. Is this a genuine transformation or a rebrand? Sunny takes one final shot. Marjorie, I hope you mean that. I genuinely do. Because the damage that's been done over the last 4 years is going to take decades to repair. And if you're serious about being part of the solution instead of the problem, then I welcome that. But I'm going to need to see a lot more than one interview and some talk about a book deal before I believe you've truly changed. MTG nods. That's fair, Sunny. I don't expect instant forgiveness. I just want a chance to do better. Whoopi wraps it up. Well, we appreciate you coming on today. Marjorie Taylor Greene, everyone. There's polite applause as MTG stands and leaves. The host's faces as she walks off are skeptical, thoughtful, unconvinced. And that's how it ended. Not with a knockout. Not with a dramatic mic drop. But with a woman who came on national television to rehabilitate her image, and instead got exposed, questioned, and cornered by a prosecutor-turned-host who wasn't having any of it. So what does all this mean? What are the implications? And who really won this exchange? That's what we're breaking down next. Within minutes, the clips were everywhere. Twitter, X was on fire. Hashtag Sunny vs. MTG was trending. Hashtag The View was trending. Marjorie Taylor Greene was trending. And the reactions? They were all over the map. From the left, Sunny Hostin absolutely destroyed MTG. This is what accountability looks like. MTG got prosecuted on live TV, and I'm here for it. Finally, someone asked her the real questions and didn't let her squirm away. From the right, The View ambushed MTG with a hostile panel. This is why conservatives don't trust mainstream media. Sunny Hostin was rude and unprofessional. MTG handled herself with grace. This is exactly the bias we've been talking about. CNN's analysis. Greene struggled to defend her past positions under scrutiny from Hostin. Fox News take. Former Congresswoman faces hostile questioning on The View. MSNBC's headline. MTG's attempted image rehabilitation falls flat under tough questioning. Everyone saw the same interview. Everyone took away something completely different. So let me give you my analysis. And if you disagree, drop a comment below. I want to hear your take on this. Here's what I think happened. Sunny Hostin came into that interview with a specific goal: to establish whether MTG's transformation is genuine or opportunistic. And through relentless, prepared questioning, she exposed the fundamental weakness in MTG's narrative. The moment about whether she'd go back to Trump if he called? That was devastating, because MTG couldn't say no definitively. She hedged. She dodged. And that dodge told us everything we need to know. If you've truly evolved, if you've truly seen the light about the dangers of Trump and MAGA extremism, that's the easiest question in the world to answer. No, Sunny, I would not go back. I've learned too much. The cost is too high. But she didn't say that, which means she's keeping the door open, which means this isn't about principles, it's about survival. I've been reading analysis from political strategists all morning. The consensus? MTG is trying to pull off an extremely difficult political maneuver. She's attempting to position herself as a Trump truth teller without fully abandoning Trumpism. It's like trying to be a little bit pregnant. You either are or you aren't. You can't be the person who calls out Trump's connections to Epstein while still defending the big lie. You can't claim you've evolved while refusing to definitively break with the person who called you a traitor. Compare MTG's approach to someone like Liz Cheney. Agree or disagree with Cheney's politics, but when she broke with Trump over January 6th, she was unequivocal. She lost her leadership position. She lost her primary. She lost her congressional seat. But she never wavered. Or Adam Kinzinger. Same thing. Full break. No hedging. Career over, principles intact. MTG is trying to have it both ways. And Sunny exposed that. Compare this to the softball interviews politicians usually get on friendly outlets. No one's asking hard questions. No one's bringing receipts. No one's cornering them with their own past statements. For The View, this is exactly the content that keeps them relevant. Political debate, actual confrontation, viral moments. Expect more controversial conservative guests, and expect Sunny to continue being the one who asks the questions everyone's thinking. Here's my final take. Sunny Hostin didn't destroy Marjorie Taylor Greene yesterday. Marjorie Taylor Greene's own record, her own words, her own inability to give straight answers, that's what destroyed her narrative. Sunny just held up the mirror. And what we all saw reflected back was someone who isn't quite ready to take full accountability for the damage she's caused. Someone who's more sorry she got caught than sorry for what she did. Someone who's rebranding out of necessity, not conviction. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. Maybe 6 months from now, MTG will have proven herself as a genuine voice for accountability and transparency. Maybe she'll use her platform to actually expose corruption on both sides. But based on that interview, I'm skeptical. And I think Sunny Hostin is too. All right, that's my complete breakdown of what happened when Marjorie Taylor Greene faced her toughest interview yet. But I want to know what you think. Drop a comment below. Did Sunny go too far, or was she exactly as tough as she needed to be? Do you believe MTG's transformation is genuine? And would you want to see her back on The View for a follow-up interview? If you found this analysis valuable and you want more deep dives into the political moments everyone's talking about, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next video. Share this with someone who needs to see it.